board for Wednesday, May 2nd. It is 6 o'clock. Let the record show that everyone is present. And if you could join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this is my first meeting as supervisor, and so we will begin with public comment, but just a couple comments from me. This is your government. We represent you. This is your building as township residents. We look for your input on a regular basis. It helps us make intelligent decisions, so take your time at each of these meetings, at the beginning or the end, to let us know what you're thinking. So with that, I'll start with the front row. Any public comment?
Would this be the right time for...
I think it would be.
Hi guys, my name is Mike Villar, and I'm running for Allegan County Prosecuting Attorney. This year I thought I'd just take the time to introduce myself, give you a little bit about my background. I started off as a law clerk to Judge Corsilia many years ago, about 27 years ago. And then I clerked 1 year in the Michigan Court of Appeals, and since that time I came back, started my own practice in Allegan. And I've been doing private practice for the last 25 years. That includes a pretty extensive criminal law practice, as well as some personal injury and a little bit of divorce practice as well. In my time in Allegan, I've been a baseball coach. I did many pounds ago. I played college baseball. I was a shortstop, believe it or not. But I coached Little League baseball for years. I had 3 boys and a daughter, so coached Little League baseball in Allegan for years. I coached ASO soccer for years. I also coached my daughter in AAU basketball for 3 years. So I've had a long-standing commitment to the community. I was on the Allegan County Fair Board of Directors for about 10 years. So I've been very involved in the community. I have commercial buildings that I own in downtown Allegan, and so I've invested in the community as well. So I've been a long-term resident of the county. I grew up in Detroit, so I found out that over here was God's country. So ever since I found out that, I've never gone back too much to Detroit. So I really love this area. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Did you bring any handouts with you? Or?
I have my cards, no handouts. So if anyone wants a card, I have a bunch.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Anyone from the second row?
I'll just say welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I'll say welcome, Chris. Is it all right if I speak?
You sure can.
Okay. I'm Commissioner Kappinga. I'd first like to just say welcome, Chris.
Thanks.
And I'd just like to start out with this past month, we just had Child Abuse Prevention Month. They reported to us some 3,120 investigations, 500 increase. We had National Crime Victims' Right Week, and you have Judge Blargent here who's going to be speaking on giving an annual report that he just gave to us this past month. And I would just like to say to you, in those 3 categories are all different people, including Judge Blargent, that have a heart for helping people. As far as giving the justice of helping to bring the truth out in the context of what's happening, we've found again and again and again just so many people that are out there doing all they can for the betterment of people. And I just congratulate Judge Blargent and the well job that he does, and especially his staff does. And you'll see that within his report as far as the efficiency of what they do and how they do it. But the biggest part of it is the heart of what they do. So I just thank you for that. Our board just got done looking at a senior citizens renewal. Many of you are aware of all the senior citizens that helps. And the Board of Commissioners are the ones who direct the millage amounts as far as if we're going to have it or not. So we spent probably the last 2 months in going over what that renewal will be, and we agreed to a 13% increase in that renewal because we had a backup of senior citizens that were trying to get the programs that were there. Just to give you a reminder that on May 28th, we have the 100th anniversary of U.S. troops in the first battle of World War I. We have a rededication of a World War I memorial at the West Side Park. If you've been there and you go way to the end, there's that little stone monument. So I'd just encourage everyone just to head over there on the 28th for that rededication. Also, I would just like to just tell you that we had, for the last 3 weeks, we had a Palisades drill. Many times I've mentioned to you that we have Scott Corbin. He's our emergency management director. He takes care of if that emergency happens in this area, he, along with the fire department, will help take care of it. Well, there's also something set up for Palisades. If there would be some explosion at Palisades, what would happen? So I've been part of, for the last 3 weeks, just an exercise that the state reviewed to say, do you have all the preparations in place with all the people in place to take care of that disaster that could happen? I would just say that Scott's done a tremendous job for our county. And we have flying colors as far as what's been done through the fire departments and through Scott. We're just so very proud of them. But we are, as you are, looking over budgets already for 2019, and I'm just glad to be able to come here and welcome again, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pete,
Yes. Right.
one question, when you said a 13% increase, is that from county funds or you're talking about millage?
Millage rate. So the millage rate increased to end up being a 13% increase within the millage.
Thanks.
Thank you. Everybody.
Anyone else from the second row?
I'm on the agenda. Do you want me to do mine now?
I
let's-
guess you're on the agenda.
Yeah, well,
I'm
yeah, Judge
You're on
Bill,
the agenda.
we'll wait until you
Okay.
get on the agenda, which will be the first new business. Next row. Row after that.
Good evening.
Hi.
Patrick Stewart, 3212 Fox Ridge Court. I've got a question. I don't think you can answer it immediately, but I would be interested in answering. It's my understanding that the township employees have had cost of living increases for the years 16, 17, and also proposed for 18. And at the same time, the fire chief received 6.6% in 16, 8% in 17, and there's a 5% increase proposed. And I'm assuming there are good reasons for it, but I'd just be curious as to what they are and what was the reasoning behind that. Also, my wife wanted to ask a question. She wanted to make cookies for the meeting, with the viewpoint being that it's hard to be uncivil when you have a cookie in your mouth. And I thought I'd better check to see if there are any regulations against cooking.
Is anybody gluten-free
civility.
here?
Bring it up.
Where are they? Yeah.
Well, next meeting. Thank you.
Patrick, thank you. We'll address your question perhaps during the budget review. We'll be reviewing the fire district budget this evening in item G. Anybody else in any of the rows have any comments? If not, I'll close public comment and move on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, anything needs to be removed? So I think at that point we have to adopt the consent agenda. Is that correct, or
Well, we don't have a consent.
we don't? Gotcha. That's old days.
Yep. So I'll approve, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Do you have a second?
Second.
So motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor? Let me ask you a question. By Doug. We've had a practice that I've observed the last meetings I've been here for roll call votes on all matters. Is that still a desire of the board, or where are we at with that?
The other guy wanted to do that.
No, I.
Lori wanted to.
I'll speak to that. I asked for it because there was one point where we did have a little discrepancy or debate as to how the vote went.
Okay.
But after listening to it and going through it, I would recommend we get rid of it.
There are items that we will have to have a roll
Yes.
call vote.
Right.
And I guess we could ask for it if it's requested for whatever, but if that's the case, then,
And special.
I'll wait.
okay, so we have a motion and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Let's move on to invoices. We have accounts payable, we paid. Any questions about any of the invoices that we have? One of us?
I don't.
Do I have a motion to approve the invoices for payment?
I'll make a motion to approve the invoices for payment. In the amount of $23,325.76.
I'll support.
Motion's been made and seconded by Rudich. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Let's move on to the approval of the minutes. April 4th regular meeting and April 10th very special meeting.
I do have a correction
Okay.
on April 4 minutes. And it's in the committee reports, and it was the planning commission rescinded the, I don't know, say disapproval? It wasn't
Denial.
approval, the denial.
It's a rescind of the denial.
Rescind of the denial.
Do I have a motion to approve the April 4th minutes as amended or any other changes?
I have one other clarification, I think. Item G on page 2, ordinance amendment, that it reads, Rudick made the motion to approve the in accordance with state law. Does it need, do we need the ordinance amendment?
I would say, yep, the ordinance amendment.
Need something in there to clarify
Yep.
that.
The ordinance amendment.
Any other changes to the April 4th regular meeting minutes? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
I move we approve the April 4th minutes as amended.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. On to April 10th special meeting. Any changes, additions? If not, I'd ask for a motion to approve the April 10th, 2018 special meeting minutes.
I would move we approve the April 10 special meeting minutes.
Do I have a second?
Yes, I support.
Any discussion?
Can people here in the back? Is Mike?
Roy, you don't pick up on the mic. It's not close enough to your mouth, but everybody else does.
Pull it closer or something?
Yeah, just
No.
Try again.
Is that okay?
No.
It sounds like it's not picking you up at all.
Something wrong.
Is it, we'll have to look
Go
at
like this, Roy.
it. No, you know, it's not working.
I'm innocent.
I just thought I'd let you know since someone had mentioned it at the last
We
meeting.
can hear it from a mile away.
Right here, you can get me if I sit here.
Here, try to tuck it in the ground.
Yeah, we could.
We'll share a
Then
mic.
Brad doesn't have it.
Yeah.
We can move ours down.
All right, I'll try to project.
Yeah.
Now it's working.
Is that working now?
Yeah, no.
You're back there?
Nothing, can you hear this?
Let me check. Yeah.
Better?
How about mine?
You gotta speak up.
It's picking him up, he's just got a soft voice, that's all.
So we'll work on that.
Yeah.
Well, so motion's
Getting
been made and
old to work on
seconded.
that, but okay, I'll work on it.
That's picking you up.
Thank you.
So all those in approving the draft minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carried.
That's April 10th.
Yeah. Correspondence, we have correspondence from Saugatuck Township, intent to plan. If I'm not mistaken, this is just them letting us know as good neighbors that they're going to be taking a look at their master plan. And I think it's nice for them to let us know that. I don't know that we have to take any action on that. Friends of the Blue Star Trail, response to the City of Saugatuck. We have their response, and I think we may be addressing this during the resolution of support.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
Maybe some more discussion.
If anybody wants to see it's in the meeting packet, they can see what that correspondence is about. It's from John Adams, the president, addressing some of their concerns. Let's move on to unfinished business, AMR discussion. I'd like to ask and invite Dave Skygens to come up to the mic, and there was some question as to whether or not the response from an ambulance perspective was increasing, that there may have been a trend, and so both Aaron and I met with the concerned individual, had a discussion about that. We want to make sure there is a problem before we try to fix it. It wouldn't make much sense. And we invited Dave to come, just kind of bring us up to speed what's been going on with AMR and ambulance service to the township. So, and anybody's welcome to ask questions if you have any.
First of all, thank you all for inviting me to your meeting. My name is Dave Scugins. I'm the operations manager at AMR. I operate out of Grand Rapids. We operate in both Kent, Ottawa, and Allegan. And we operate in all counties equally, no more so in one county than the other. I'm coming and honest with any questions or concerns. This is from January 1 through April 30th of this year. We have a priority response in priority 1, 2, and 3. Priority 3 is a non-emergency call. Priority 2 is a potential life-threatening, where we respond without lights and sirens. Priority 1 is a life-threatening call, we'll respond with lights and sirens. Okay. So priority 1 responses, January, February, March, April, 26 responses in the Saugatuck Township area. Priority 2 responses, 19, and priority 3, 33, with a total of 78 responses. I think the question is response times. I can go over averages and then I'll open up to anybody who has any specifics regarding that. Average response time for priority 1 for January, February, March, and April is 10 minutes, 6 seconds. Priority 2 is 11 minutes, 56 seconds. And priority 3 is 15 minutes, 7 seconds. If I can mention the Allegan County Medical Control Board, the response time protocol is 15 minutes for ones, 20 minutes for twos, and 25 minutes for threes. With that, with your permission, I can open up to anybody who has any questions or concerns about any response that we've had in this area.
I got a question.
Sure.
Who determines the priority?
It's a nationally recognized EMD, which is Emergency Medical Dispatch plan. A lot of it now is computerized. In the old days, it was flip cards. So you call in. It's a national program, not developed by AMR, not developed by any local agency. And it's key indicators that would dictate what that priority is. Chest pain above the belly button, for instance, age determinations.
I also have a comment. I'm on the fire board, and what I have come to learn over the past few years is we do response times also, but sometimes there's a large delay between the caller calling 911 and them dispatching you. So it may seem like you're sitting there forever, but a lot of times I think it gets hung up at 911. And that's what I've come to learn of the fire district.
Are you referring to Allegan County Dispatch, our dispatcher, because there's multiple dispatchers?
I think it's wherever the dispatch goes. Because I've asked, we have an accident out here, you call 911, and it seems like an hour before someone comes. But the response time from that call to 911 and them determining what goes on can be delayed. And so I'm actually standing up for you guys and our fire department.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate the fire department because we rely on you all very heavily. And I know there are some times when you're on scene quite a bit, and we rely on your medical expertise to get things started. And many times in an emergency, obviously we think time is passing a lot quicker. But if I could pull up one, I think the longest response time, and I'll give you the example for priority 1 in this area, I'm going to say here it is, 17 minutes, 5 seconds. And I'll run through that call if you'd like. Like I said, that's 17 minutes. I think our lowest is less than a minute. Clearly, we're already on scene during that. So the time of call for that particular one was 4:10 in the afternoon, 53 seconds. Alerted the ambulance at 4:11, 13 seconds. They went en route at 4:13, 15 seconds. So that's an out-of-chute time. But when the ambulance was alerted to when they started turning their wheels, that's at 2 minutes, 2 seconds. On scene, 4:20 and 13 seconds with a response time. Sorry, that's one line up. Sorry about that, I'll go over. It looks like time of call was 12:20 and 40 seconds. The ambulance was alerted at 12:22 and 18 seconds. En route, 12:24 and 18 seconds. with an out-of-shoot time of 2 minutes. They were, and I'll tell you where they were responding from. I have to scroll over a little bit. And we're on scene at 12, 38, and 36 minutes in the afternoon. That's a 17-minute and 56 response time. But bear in mind, that was a significant call. It was a unconscious person. They were responding out of Holland Community Hospital. So in Ottawa County down here. The total task time from the time we received a call until they were clear of the hospital, because we responded to Holland Priority 1, was 1 hour, 1 minute, 59 seconds. And generally speaking, from the time we get the 911 call to when we complete, it's about an hour. And that was data significant for that as well. So responding from Holland Community Hospital, I don't have an address because of privacy indicators. Let's scroll and I'll just give you a quick second here. The date was February 20th. So that's an example of our longest response. Does anybody have anything else regarding response time to make on here?
Chris Males from the Fire District. I guess my understanding when this originally started, or the question was whether or not it was worth saving the $7,000 a year to pull out of the Federal Ambulance Authority. From what I believe we got from Vicki McGuire from your office, was it was an average of over 3 minutes since that change happened to now that the response times had lengthened. And it sounds like you're doing great so far for the first quarter of 2018, but I think that was more what our concern was, that we were kind of somewhat stealing from the other neighboring communities that are paying for that federal ambulance, but yet still responding into the south half of the township. And I believe that was probably primarily Tony Shippa's concern, as well as ours, that we want to make sure that we're paying fairly as well as having that ambulance available if we need it quickly. So I don't know, that might be more for
Are you referring to more of the north side or referring to the south side?
Referring to the south side, where obviously where it's typically closer to have a Holland truck come to the north side of the township, but
Right.
It's closer for the Fenville B11 truck to hit the south side of the township, obviously.
And I can give you my information if you want specifics regarding that. I just checked the 2018 response stuff, but please email me and I can get you any more information.
So let me bring everybody up to speed what's happened since Tony brought that to our attention. Number one, what we want to do in order to have due diligence is actually verify that there is an issue.
Sure.
So we kind of started that process, and Aaron's going to work with Tony to take a look at that. I think it needs to be empirical. We can't tell everybody we've got a problem if we don't. Okay, so we've taken that step. The next step could be sit down with Dave and talk about why that's happening. Another step that we discussed with Tony was, in addition to himself and some folks from the fire department to have good data, actually start to look at those type of things and see if maybe on a regular basis, monthly, whatever, just kind of keep an eye on it and educate us, but also educate the community. There's a lot of things that the ambulance service can provide to our constituents, and they could help with that education function, as well as the fact that that contract is coming up, not too quickly, but soon, and we should be looking at a number of different things. Is how do we make sure that we have apples to apples comparisons when we're looking at things like response time and things like that. But we don't want this to be an indictment on our contracted partner, for sure. So you're aware of that. And we appreciate you coming out here and being forthcoming. So
I do have one question. It seemed to be repeated a number of times at previous meetings that we don't get. Yeah, that's a lot better.
A lot better.
That makes a big difference. We don't get ambulance service at all in the south side from Fenville. Is that the case?
No, we respond with the Fenville ambulance to the south side. The north side's covered by the Ottawa County ambulances.
But the one you were just mentioning went to the south side, but you were mentioning it came from Holland community.
If Fenville, a lot of times when more than one call comes out, there's many different factors, and I can go over some of those, but generally we have
I
multiple
just
different
want
calls.
to be sure that I did understand it correctly, that
So
normally service would come out of Fenville.
Yes.
So why this is an important issue for me, Dave, just so you know, is our demographics in the township. We're getting older. And the difference between having a stroke and speaking and walking versus being your normal self is minutes. So we want to make sure if there is an issue, we want to be addressing it. and we want to be more proactive if it's needed. So, but thank you for coming and sharing that information with us.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Dave.
Judge Blazern, it's time for the state of the court. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm thinking maybe I should come back for the next meeting and get some of the cookies, but Joel House are always nice. We always prepare a state of the court annual report just to give an idea of what's going on at the district court. This is my third, I'm in the first year of my third term. Each term is 2 years as chief judge. And I like to come around and just share with people what we're doing at the court. This really documents the number of different types of cases that we deal with, from the driving while license suspended to operating while intoxicated, domestic violence, things like that, as well as the number of felonies that we deal with. We deal with all the types of cases that come through the courts. But it also really highlights some of the really exemplary work that our clerks are doing, recouping and capturing all the data that's required by the state of Michigan. And the SCAO, which is the State Court Office of Administration, always, they analyze that data, and they always put Allegan at the very top of the 83 counties, not because it's alphabetical, but because we always have virtually, if it's not 100% accuracy, it's in that range of 100 to 97%. And really, that's largely attributable to the leadership provided by our administrator, Linda Lenahan. She does a great job there, and she has an inside track because she knows exactly what the SCAO wants. She used to work there, so I think that helps us out. It gives us a bit of a leg up. But we really truly capture all that data going forward, and we really are recognized repeatedly throughout the year on that. Another thing I'd like to go over is something that has gotten a lot of attention. In fact, just today, the Supreme Court liaison, Justice Clement, issued a release in regard to the effectiveness of the specialty courts, which are called, alternately called specialty courts or problem-solving courts. And specifically, they put out some statistics indicating that those that are participating in adult drug treatment court are 3 times less likely to commit another crime after 2 years. We have people in sobriety courts are 5 times less likely to recommit after 2 years. 91% of sobriety court graduates use the Ignition Interlock to successfully complete the program. Then jumping down to the veterans courts, they're talking about the graduates cutting unemployment by half, and with the mental health treatment courts, nearly 100% of them are resulting in improved mental health care. That's important. That mental health care aspect is really important because in our society in general, not just Michigan, but in general, the largest repository for mental health issues has really by default become the penal system, and prisons and jails are replete with the number of individuals that have mental health concerns. And if we can address that in mental health treatment courts, and Judge Scotchless presides over it in our court, and does an excellent job, by the way. I think that's a great way to intercept and try to intervene and change the course of these people's lives early on. Now, one of the courts that I preside over directly, I preside over 3 of these courts. The drug treatment court I presented to you 10 years ago, I think. And that's been going strong and is doing very well and very successful. A lot of people out there owning their own homes, supporting their own families, and paying taxes rather than sitting in prison and having us pay to take care of them. But more importantly, they're healthy and their families are together and they're living productive lives. The Veterans Court, I'm happy to indicate that we've got our data from SCAO, and statewide Veterans Courts are doing great, but specifically as the West Michigan Veterans Treatment Court, we're doing great. Spoiler alert, I'm going to give this to you. I don't want to take the joy out of discovery from you, but so let me just give some of that data to you, and I'm going to give you these, this also for the report in general. The newest court is a sobriety court. That gets a lot of attention because one of the issues with sobriety courts is individuals find themselves without an ability to support their family because they don't have driver's licenses and things like that. So the sobriety court, if you're following all the rules of the court, and this is with a OWI second, or operating while impaired, or operating while intoxicated, has to be a second offense. We don't want to take the first offense individuals because first offense individuals are likely never going to come back to want to stay at Hotel Elegant, even for that one night overnight. But those that become like second, people that have second offenses and more are responsible for the overwhelming majority of incidents, accidents, deaths and fatalities, associated with drinking and driving. So we intervene with them. We have a very strict protocol in regard to their reporting. We have them on alcohol tether and then ignition interlock, which is referred to in that release issued by the Supreme Court. These individuals do really well. We give them an ability, if they're following all of our rules, after 60 days, I give them a green light, if I feel comfortable with them being on the road, to drive from home to work. We want to keep them employed. From home to treatment, we demand and require that they participate in treatment and counseling. And there's been another category that's, well, also court. They got to be able to come to court. But then there's another category that just got added just last week, and that's in regard to allowing individuals to come from home to school events for their children. All of these things, these are things we're trying to make sure that they have the abilities to participate in a meaningful way to support their family, but also to support their family not only financially through jobs, but to be there for the children at school and such. We consider that to be extraordinarily important as well. So that being said, I will take questions, but I will stop talking. See, that's restraint on my part. Any questions?
Any questions for the judge?
None? I guess I wasn't very interested.
Thanks for
All
coming
right,
and
thank you
sharing.
so much
We
for
appreciate it. Thanks, Judge. Next up on the agenda, item B of new business is resolution support township citizen request for a traffic study. Aaron, you want to give us a little background on this?
The board made a motion to support this, I think, a couple of months ago. And then we heard back from the road commission and the Michigan State Police, who actually performs the traffic speed study, wanted the procedure, approval of a resolution. It's for the same stretch that we talked about prior, which is that kind of curve in by the chiropractic office all the way down to the city of Saugatuck Township boundary in North Street, where it goes, it's a 45 speed limit now, and it drops to 25. The resident request went through the county, then us, then back to the county. He would like for it to be lowered, but the issue is here, it might not be lowered as a result of the study. So a key part of the resolution is that it comes down to the amount of volume in the traffic and the control points, the driveways, the things that the experts count in the law to evaluate the safest speed in their opinion. And then it would be up for the board to at least agree to either change the speed limit up or down or keep it the same. But they will make a strong recommendation for that speed limit. So, the idea is to take the subjectivity out of it, to make it a little bit more based on the math of the control points and things. And there's been a little bit of development in that stretch. So whether you like higher speeds or slower speeds, what is the right speed according to the state police? And this would allow that to be evaluated. There's no cost direct to the township. If there's new speed signs, that could have to be changed, but I think there's two there now. It's marginal cost. I'm not quite sure if this township would even be invoiced for that, but it would probably go through the safety officer at the county.
Okay, so the resolution in front of us tonight is request for a traffic speed study. I'll read it quickly so we can address it. Whereas a resident of Saugatuck Township who resides along Holland Street has requested a traffic control speed study to be performed by the Allegan County Road Commission and Michigan State Police for .63 mile length of public street of Holland Street from Blue Star Highway to North Street in Saugatuck Township as enclosed as Exhibit A. And whereas the Saugatuck Township Board supports this citizen request pursuant to Michigan Vehicle Code Act 300 of 1949. And whereas the Allegan County Road Commission shall borne the cost of this traffic control study and shall provide pertinent traffic data to the Michigan State Police for their determination of a safe speed limit that is reasonable and in consideration of most current existing access points of public roads, private roads, and driveways. Let it be resolved that the Township Board is formally requesting the Allegan County Road Commission and Michigan State Police conduct a traffic control speed study for 7 mile length of public street of Holland Street from Blue Star Highway north to North Street in Saugatuck Township as enclosed in Exhibit A. It's understood that the Allegan County Road Commission, in cooperation with the Michigan State Police, will use the pertinent data of the traffic control speed study to make a determination of a safe speed limit that is reasonable and in consideration of the most current existing access points of public roads, private roads, and driveways, which could raise the speed limit, lower the speed limit, or keep it as it is. It is also understood that the Saugatuck Township will abide by the decision made by the Allegan County Road Commission and Michigan State Police as a result of this speed study. Do I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
Take a deep breath there.
I move we adopt the resolution as read.
Do we have a motion of support?
Support.
So we have a motion by McElwain, supported by Lane, to adopt this resolution. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. I guess if the person that asked for the study objects to the findings, let's say they raise the speed limit and they're kind of stuck with what that is.
Yeah, that was explained to
Was
the
it
person
explained to
too
him?
by the county.
Was it explained to that person?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know to the extent that it was, but I believe it was,
Okay.
that they have to abide by the results of the study. And that's kind of why, yeah, just intentionally put that in there too. And it's been copied, and I told the person too that we're going to be reviewing it today. And, you know, there is no other way to change the speed limit in the township. This is the only way.
Right.
So it's got to go through the road
So
commission and
just to be
state
clear,
police.
the individual who requested the study knows that it may not change or it could go up.
Yeah, that's my understanding. But I don't know if they'll be pleased about it. But
Well, it's not of the seriousness of the AMR empirical data, but I would second what Chris had to say earlier, that we finally could have some data to let them make that decision based on standards, rather than guessing what it should be, or emotional decisions.
I guess my only concern would be if this individual, just so they know that it could not go in their favor once that data has been accumulated. So
Right.
if you're assuring us that that's the case, that's good enough for me.
I mean, as far as I know, I mean, that's just as far as I know, I believe that is the case.
Does
But,
everybody think before we do this, we might want to just check one more time? Is there a rush to do this, or?
I'm not in a huge rush to get it done. If you want me to ask and perhaps to get that in writing,
I would just verify
yeah.
before we go through all this and have somebody upsetting us. I know that happens sometimes, but anybody, any thoughts on that? Just a thought.
I'm okay with that.
I don't think they'd raise that speed limit though, but you never can tell, I guess. 45 seems adequate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no looming deadline of extenuating costs if you delay or something.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, if they raised it, it would be equal to Blue Star Highway because it's at the 45 now. But
Actually,
again,
the study
you
might
never
be
know.
better in the summer when we've got more traffic on there too, so.
Yeah, I think they have a little bit of discretion to choose the time. I think they want the highest traffic period, not the lowest. You always try to measure by the high
So we
water.
probably have time.
Okay, so why don't we do this, if no one's opposed, we could table this till the next meeting, or?
You could
I
approve
would-
a contingent
I
upon.
would withdraw my motion based on being sure that the resident is aware of what could happen.
Or we could approve it contingent upon
Well, yeah, could we do that?
No, I don't know if you want to approve a resolution on that.
My recommendation would be to table it.
Yeah.
Right.
Just come back.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Good discussion.
So you got to remove the motion.
And it's been
Yeah,
removed.
I stated that.
Okay, road committee appointment.
For this board, yeah. I would move that we appoint Roy McElwain to our road committee.
I'll second. Any discussion? It's a great job. I had it for 12 years.
I'm going with what you said, Chris.
Okay, all those in favor?
Thank you all.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Welcome. Congratulations. With that, we'll talk about the 2018 local road work order bid tabulation. We received this from the county. Just for those who may not know, the township really has no authority over roads. That resides with the Allegan County Road Commission. So any work done has to go through them. We can request and we can fund, which we're doing through extra voted villages and our road committee. But they go through all the hard work of soliciting bids. And we have a project, and this is the one for resurfacing in Pepperbrook, is it not, Aaron?
Yep, there are 3 total. Got the projects in the top corner there, Chris.
Yeah, one of those was a holdover, was it not?
This is the first slotted to get started on 126th. But the 3 that are on deck now are those at the top of the bid sheet there, in the corner there. There's the Pepperbrook, there's 135th, and then there's Culvert Avenue, Butternut, Hickory Lane, and Chestnut, which is off of Lakeshore Drive, south of the washout. Public street, this is a big land division development there. So it hasn't seen a lot of road funds in the years, so.
We have a work order request in for the cul-de-sacs in Pepperbrook to look at widening those, is that correct?
Yep.
We don't have anything back, it does some preliminary engineering?
The plan is almost done, and I did check with Craig, and he did do a recommendation too, because we are bringing that road standard up. It's one of our oldest subdivisions there at Pepperbrook, doing a lot of improvements to that subdivision, to maybe do a public hearing for this project in particular, just because it will affect a high density area. So maybe when we have the plan, then we can show the people at the hearing, and that would follow up after this approval and before construction, and then they could do modifications based on public input if there are some, like I know Chris, you had a comment about the drainage in that curve. Cul-de-sac, we are shooting for the full IFC standard. There are 2 cul-de-sacs. Widening the road a little bit because it's a little narrow, but the plat is there to do it. And the road's in bad shape, so it's due. So if I get the plan, I think we could pick a public hearing date, send out some invites, and we can get some input.
Yeah, I think that'd be good, because what happens over time is people start to put things like flower beds and things like that in the easement, not knowing that it exists. I mean, yeah, and so it's as a courtesy, I think as a township, we want to make sure they're aware and get their input before we proceed with the project that's going to have that type of an impact. As far as these projects, I don't think that's warranted, unless anybody else does. So I would move that we go with the recommendation of the managing director of the Allegan County Road Commission and accept the low bid received from Michigan Paving and Materials in the amount of $198,393.10.
I'll support.
As a side point there, Chris, and I've had Larry explain this to me too, you want to add the possible contingency costs because they are our project engineers. So you have the 5 to 10 for the engineering, and then you have up to 10 for the delivery. So what's been done in the past is just say added plus the contingency costs as stated in the letter.
Yeah, I would agree. When he mentions cash flow, it's vital for them to operate efficiently. So I'll revise that motion if I could. to accept the low bid from Michigan Paving and Materials in the amount of $198,393.10 plus the recommended contingency cost.
And I'll support that.
So we have a motion and support. Any discussion? I don't think do we need a roll call vote for this? I don't think so.
No.
No. So all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carried. Okay, HMO and health insurance renewal.
Wait, oh,
Resolution.
skip D.
Oh, yes. Resolution support of construction of sidewalk extension. Aaron, you want to bring us up to speed on
Yeah,
the
we
necessity
have
for this?
Jeannie Van Zorn here from the Friends Group.
Welcome, Jeannie.
Jeannie, if you want to start there, she's the expert.
I'm sure you've all had a chance to read the resolution. Basically, what we are asking for is approval to move forward with the development of a 5-foot sidewalk starting at Blue Star and Old Allegan Road. And the idea is that we would have people walking along Old Allegan Road, just pedestrians, not people with bicycles or skis or anything else, just pedestrians, walking then to Allegan Street and then go to Lake Street as an interim route in order to show connectivity. When we're working with our 2 grant coordinators from the state and from the federal government, the most important issues are ability to make the match, community match, make sure that that's in hand several months before we even start construction. And secondly is the ability to show connectivity from one point to another. In our case, we have a plan that shows the 20-mile connectivity as what we envision it as we move along from section to section. But as people are aware, right now we have construction going on in the city of Douglas, just past south of the bridge. And so we hope eventually that we'll be working with the city of Saugatuck and working with Douglas and the city of Saugatuck as we move forward with the Kalamazoo River Bridge. So this is simply an interim, doesn't cost very much. I shouldn't say that, it was more than we anticipated, but so it's a pretty simple extension, about 2,200 feet, the engineers are assuming right now. And I'm assuming that that's all in the right-of-way for the township. And we are working with Saugatuck Christian Reformed Church. They were very helpful when we worked with them through the easement, and they are continuing to be very cooperative and very helpful with us. So, are there any questions that I can answer for you?
Thank you very much. So we have in front of us a resolution of support of construction of sidewalk extension. I won't read all of that, but whereas the board, Saugatuck Township Parks Commission, and Saugatuck Township Planning Commission have all resolved, 1, the Tri-Community Master Plan as adopted in the Saugatuck Douglas Area 5-year Parks and Recreation Plan as adopted by the Tri-Community strongly supports and affirms non-motorized trail development throughout the Blue Star Highway Corridor. 2, non-motorized trail development along the Blue Star Highway Corridor in Saugatuck Township is a planned goal of the entire Tri-Community as resolved by the Tri-Community, and the acquisition of financial assistance necessary to implement this planned goal will be encouraged with the Tri-Community and amongst all partners of the Tri-Community. 3rd, Saugatuck Township development is a vital aspect of life for landowners, business owners, residents, and visitors of Saugatuck Township. The township shall endeavor to satisfy recreation needs of all ages of the public, including elements of physical, cognitive, social, and environmentally related special needs that shall have the opportunity to enjoy the fantastic natural resources and recreational opportunities of Saugatuck Township. And whereas Township and Friends Blue Star Trail nonprofit organization have committed to providing regional connectivity of the Blue Star Trail, non-motorized trail, way through the Blue Star Corridor, and whereas Friends of the Blue Star Trail pledged to fund construction of the approximate 0.15 mile of sidewalk extension in this section of the township along the northern public right-of-way of Old Allegan Road from Maple Street, thence east to the Blue Star Highway, and whereas the township shall own and maintain the sidewalk extension that will fill a gap in the existing non-motorized trail facilities by connecting to pre-existing sidewalk that lies within the jurisdiction of the city of Saugatuck, and whereas the sidewalk extension in connection to existing facilities enhances safety and recreational opportunity of users of the Blue Star Trail above and beyond that which currently exists by allowing for a continuous ADA route for pedestrian traffic, including cross-country runners, walkers, joggers, and whereas the township and Friends of Blue Star Trail anticipate final construction plans and approval to be in place within the next year and intend to commence with construction upon receipt of the MDOT TAP approval for Saugatuck Township grant application. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the trustees, hereby support construction of the sidewalk extension, and Saugatuck Township shall own and maintain the sidewalk extension upon approved final inspection of construction as built, planned, and designed by Hurley and Stewart Civil Engineers in cooperation with Friends of the Blue Star Trail nonprofit group. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move the support of the resolution of support of construction sidewalk extension.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Go ahead.
My only question is, I guess for Jeannie, can answer this, is why no bicycle traffic? I'm coming down the trail and I suddenly can't use my bike to go down.
You'll see a sign that'll point, keep going down Blue Star Highway if you're biking. If you're walking, take the sidewalk. MDOT does not, MDOT's major function is safety on the roads, sidewalks, what have you. So there could be problems and accidents if we have an overzealous biker hit a pedestrian. So bicycles are not wanted on pedestrian sidewalks.
And this is an interim?
This is an interim solution to show connectivity going from where we started 64th Street all the way down to M89.
And there's significant funding that comes along with that if the grant's approved, is that correct?
Oh, yes.
And have we had any objections from anybody, the church or any residents?
No, I spoke to a member of the church today, and the Friends President, John Adams, reached out directly to the landowner on the corner, and they are both strongly in favor of a sidewalk there. I would note that the engineering plan, it's not finalized yet, due to this just kind of came upon us during the grant review process. We hope to get an easement to help avoid drainage improvements that were just made outside of the right-of-way, but that would then be in cooperation too with the landowner. A large part of it, if not the majority of it, is planned to be in the right-of-way. It could all be in the right-of-way, but I think from what I've heard, again, is that the church has plans of their own to do landscaping in the yard there close to the trail to kind of build off these improvements too. So I think it's a natural thing because it is the most direct route straight downtown where the sidewalks go all the way downtown.
Yes.
They do not stop at the end of the hill in Old Allegan. They go all the way to the
But if you
SCA,
want to just,
all the way.
if you just want to go on Lake Street and then go across the bridge and keep going, you can do that
walk
as well. So you have
all the way.
some options. So this is the most efficient way to handle this temporary situation. But we emphasize it is temporary, and please move bikes on the sidewalks.
It's only 5 feet wide instead of 10, right?
It's 5 feet, yes, right.
And the bike path is 10.
10, yes, and those are by national standards for any trailway that's built.
Yeah, there is no ordinance though in the township to ride a bike on a sidewalk. I don't know where else.
There is in the city of Saugatuck, yes.
Yeah, it says
Before
don't
you cross
drive
over
on
on Maple
sidewalks.
Street, you have to
So-
go on this little-
So just so those who don't know, the way we've addressed that in the township is we now, when we pave a road, when we repave a road, we put 3-foot paved shoulders to allow for bike traffic in a safe manner, to accommodate bikes in the township. Any other questions, discussion? Motion's been made and seconded. Do we need a roll call on that?
It would.
Yeah.
Okay, the resolution has been made and seconded, and we'll take a roll call vote. We'll start with Rudick,
Yes.
Levinsky,
Yes.
McElwain,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Rohrig, yes. Motion carried. So now we can move on to,
I just want to say thank you very much for another tight deadline that staff was able to respond to.
you're welcome. Thanks for all your work. Insurance renewal.
We just got this in from our agent at the standard time. It should be noted too that our HMO group, we have actually two groups I call. The one is only the one enrollee for our Medicare Part B, and then our HMO HSA group. We had a enrollee dropout. It was a voluntary move. She found some better coverage through her spouse. So that reflects a savings to the employer. So our group got smaller. There's a lot less premium. But that being said, to keep the same coverage that does include the mandatory reductions in coverage from the Affordable Care Act, which mandates this is a lesser coverage amount. What is provided to you here in the yellow under the first column is the comparable, the most comparable that is available. It is a lesser coverage plan, and it only reflects a 2% increase. But that's a 2% increase on a smaller total number because of the enrollee dropping out. So the good news is that our insurance costs less, and the renewal is only 2%, which is, depends on your CPI, but that's under inflation, which is pretty good. I've seen them as high as 26% over the course of the last decade. So that's pretty good. If you want to put that value back into your employees again, I think in this year it's a good deal. There were some comps here as well, but we would, if you choose to go through with this, the provider asks for the standard amount of lead time. That's why we choose here to adjust this outside of the budget, which we usually do at the beginning of June. But the quicker they have this paperwork, they like this to avoid any kind of lapse in coverage. They usually ask for a 30-day lead, so that's why we do it ahead of time, not to rush or anything.
So how many people do we have on this plan?
We have 2 in the HMO plus spouses, and we have 1 in the Medicare Part B enrollee. There's a unit amount too on the left of the sheet.
So I have a motion to go ahead and approve the health insurance renewal for effective July 1st, 2018.
Yeah. I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Motion made by Rudick and seconded by Babinski.
Lane.
Lane, sorry. Learning. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried.
That would be, Chris, to clarify the option that I was speaking of, that first option.
Correct, the one in yellow. Okay.
Send paperwork off to the agent tomorrow.
Okay, now we have item.
We got to do the Medicare though.
Oh, where's that? Is that the
That's
second?
the next page, yeah. That's just the single enrollee.
Is that Delta Dental or?
No, that's a separate option. But we do have to approve that too, even though there is not an enrollee in it.
This priority health?
Yeah, it's the priority health. It's
Yeah. Do I have a motion to
enhanced.
accept the renewal of the Medicare option effective July 1st, 2018?
So move.
Do I have a second?
I'll support.
So we have a motion by McElwain, support by Rudick. Any discussion?
This would be for the enhanced on the left. That would be the replace of current, which is enhanced. And there was no increase from last year to this year at all. It's subsidized.
Okay, so all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried.
And the Delta Dental.
Delta Dental is next. Thank you. For the motion to adopt the Delta Dental contract for Saugatuck Township, effective July 1st.
Now, Aaron, are we adopting this, or are we gonna?
You have to.
We have to adopt.
It has to be allowed, but we have no enrollees in it. The township self-insures or just allows an allowance for their employees, and that covers eye and mouth, or eye and dental. What that's seen is, Chris, since the days prior where we all were enrolled in that, not myself, but in that, there was a savings is like, it wasn't even being used, but we were still paying the premium. So we switched to just self-insured. Here's an allowance. If you don't use it, then you lose it. It just goes back into the general fund. And that's worked out very well, I think, as far as if you're going from a perspective. Employees all like it. It's flexible, so if you need more eye than teeth or vice versa, it can be taken advantage of. And the dental was a little bit more rigid, and it costs more. But you have to allow this according to the Affordable Care Act, is my understanding. But there is no enrollee.
New enrollees, yeah.
Yeah, there's a zero cost involved, but it's a procedural step that we do have to take. And that was in some correspondence too from Deb, our agent.
So I'll move that we accept the Delta Dental of Michigan contract. We have a second.
Support.
Motion by Rohr, support by Rudick. Any discussion further? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, aye, and motion carried. Item G. I'll try to have you all out of here as quickly as possible. I'm working hard for you people. Budget review of fiscal year 2018-2019 for the Saugatuck Township Fire District. Rick and I presided as your representatives over that for the Fire Administration Board, and we both approved the budget. We're here tonight to, as you all may know, all three municipalities must approve that budget for it to be spent. So the city of the Village of Douglas and the city of Saugatuck will be going through this process as well. Have you all had a chance to take a look at the proposed annual budget?
I'm just gonna, Chris has known me so long, he calls me Rick, but Eric Beckman, Saugatuck Township representative. I'm here just to answer any questions. Chris and I have been, on the board now, and if there's anything you guys, it's the same millage as before. We get the 2.0 mill. We are the largest responding fire department in Allegan County. So, and our percentage of wages for operational budget's one of the lowest. We're at 49%. So, I would like to address, I think you addressed the chief's salary. I can't recall the past couple years the increases. We held the millage for so long that we tried to save money over the years, and we did ourselves and the people a disservice. Our equipment was getting old. I believe, in my opinion, our chief was underpaid. So this was a little bit of a catch-up. The proposed this year is 4.7% for the chief. The national COLA average is 2.0, so it is above the COLA. But the chief puts in between 65 and 70 hours a week. If you figure that out, that's about $20 an hour. I wouldn't do it for it. I don't know if my son works for more money than that. He has a passion for what he does, and I'm not throwing anyone under the bus here, but we have a zoning commissioner who I believe he works 24 hours here a week, makes $35 an hour on average. Our clerk, based on 40 hours, 26 hours, $26 an hour. Our treasurer, based on 40 hours, and I know they a lot of times put in more, it's like $24 an hour. We have a part-time assistant that works in this building. She makes $17.50 an hour. Now, Greg has to go through a lot of schooling, so I believe this township is getting a hell of a deal for $20 an hour. So, I'll leave it at that. You have any questions? I'm here.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, I hear you, Rick, and I understand where this is coming from. And I've had a history on the fire board. I've got a fiduciary responsibility for the township. And I understand those hours, but is that a need or a want? Our employees always face a COLA increase. And I did not object to those previous increases for the reason you brought up. But from a fiscal responsibility point now, I do object. I feel that let's get back to normal business. I remember when a clerk was added because the chief was spending too many hours. That hasn't seemed to alleviate the problem. I feel if the board, the fire district needs another employee, that's the solution. But I don't think our employees would feel comfortable, I would, by getting more than a COLA increase. We're past the era of millage increases, et cetera. And I would like to see this board ask that this budget go back to the fire board, the entire fire board, to relook at this and come back to us with, if there's outstanding contingencies or reasons for it, then I'd like to hear them, but we don't have that at this point, other than comparisons of hourly rates. But
well, one of the things we can do is go back to the old salary and pay him additional emergency response, and he'll probably make more money that way.
To me,
it really would. Well, which way do you want to skin this cat?
I don't know. That's up to the fire board.
And that's fine.
I just have a hard time explaining to residents in the township why one person gets more than the COLA at this point in time. And I understand about the 60 hours, but that's where I'm coming from. And
I respect that, and we can look at it.
I know there's always time limits on these budgets. It has to be approved before July 1. There's no reason that a special meeting couldn't be held with the board, and I would feel much more comfortable if the board came back to us with something in writing saying, here is why we have approved the 5% increase.
Well, I think I just explained why we improved it. I mean, I agree with you. We need to alleviate, he's going to kill himself by putting in the hours that he puts in. I mean, I wouldn't do what he does for the money that he makes. It's just phenomenal. And Chris and I have talked about adding or looking at how do we alleviate the number of hours that he puts in.
And for the record, the reason I approved it is we have a very highly competent fire chief. He does have a lot of time spent, as many of our officers do too, educating, becoming better at what they do. And so that's the reason that I supported it and would still support today the increase and the budget as I had in the past.
I apologize to the audience and to the board and to you, Eric. I meant to say that at the beginning of my comments. Having been on the fire board, having worked with Chris Mantle and Greg, and I've said this numerous times, and people go back in the record, I have nothing but praise for his work. The equipment is up to date, everything's shipshape, but maybe, to me, this is the time to address this issue, rather than just trying to fix it with a 5% increase. That doesn't seem to me to be the right answer. That for the board, that's where
Your
I'm coming.
other, the full-time officers, did they get a COLA increase too? I mean, I don't know how many full-time.
Yes, they did. don't know if it's 2%.
Yeah,
I
I'd
think
like-
it's 4.8.
I'd like to see that career breakdown also, the career firefighter breakdown.
The budget doesn't reflect the salaried people that are, of what they're getting. And I think a transparent budget would show that.
Mhm. Mhm. And I
Yeah.
for one don't think we should be spending money on a videographer for the fire department and publicist to come to meetings, obviously for the fire department, but saying I'm not for the fire department either, so
Isn't that a volunteer though? Did you do that voluntarily?
allegedly.
Yes, she does not get paid. She does it voluntarily.
There you go.
That's a gray area. just to
Okay,
keep all
so,
that out of it.
all right, so really we're here to discuss this proposed budget. We've got some concerns, and I think we have to recognize that. Rick, would you agree? Maybe come back with some clarifications as requested, table the approval of the budget for the next meeting? Would you have,
Don't we need to get it approved before June 1?
is it June 1 or July 1?
Is it July 1?
July
Okay, then,
Yeah.
then we can do it next meeting.
I mean, just in
And
fairness to these
yeah, that's
questions, I do want to point out one more thing about this budget. The amount of grant writing that's done to get money is exceptional, and I've always thought that. You know, this isn't all taxpayer burden. That being said, let's our township residents recognize that almost 53 cents on the dollar to fund this budget comes from township taxpayers. So when these questions are being asked, we're asking them on their behalf, and for no other reason.
Great.
We can break it down, individual officers, and we'll have that change. Thank you.
Rick, thanks a lot.
Yeah, no problem.
Next on the agenda is response. Motion to table?
I would move to table that.
I move that we table the review and approval of the proposed annual budget for the fire district.
I'll support that.
Table next meeting.
Yep.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next is the response to the article that came out in the local Observer. I was asked at that time for comment, and quite frankly, it came up so quickly that I wasn't able to respond. So I feel I owe a explanation to the public, to our township taxpayers, and to the fire district on this. So on April 17th, we received a request for comment from the local Observer, and that was 4 p.m. on an afternoon before their deadline of noon today, regarding some comments made by the ICC that was submitted to them in a letter from Greg Janik. Now, I'd never seen that letter that was referenced, so decided at that time not to comment until I get some background on what this was all about, and maybe even talk to the gentleman, Mr. Shipley, who was quoted in that letter. So do some due diligence, because the headline was, you know, people are in dire jeopardy based on some actions of the township. So I got to tell you, I specifically found the quote a bit odd, and it wasn't all in the paper, but he started out by warning that he'd tread gently. That's not a very strong comment, and closed by adding, maybe I'm off base here, so please correct me if I'm traveling down the wrong road. That doesn't sound like a resounding ICC comment on some of the actions of the township. So I was pretty sure that that type of comment, in my experience, I happen to be NICET certified, level 2 for fire alarm systems, so I've done a little bit of work in that area, but that's not the type of comment that this type of organization would make officially, because it would include not just us, but many other communities that are in similar situation. So that's why basically I asked to have our people reach out to him, and we did that last week, and what we heard from this gentleman I'll share with you in a second. But I also wanted to talk to Greg about this, and there was some interaction back and forth, because I was surprised as a fire administration board member that I'd never seen that letter. Had I would have had some of these questions that I was struck with initially. Such as, why didn't we see it? And basically, the response was it was there at a meeting but wasn't reviewed or was put on the side, here nor there. I want to make sure that the quote from this gentleman, it was contained in the context of an email that was sent. Wanted to see if that was an official comment or not, and that wasn't very clear. I wanted to see if we got agreement from this gentleman to share his response, because I think that's a professional courtesy that should be given to somebody like that. And then I asked if we could see the FO, the Freedom of Information Act request for that, which there was none. It was given without solicitation to the local observer. So we did speak with this gentleman, and this is where we're getting back to our response. And basically, this gentleman has gotten in some hot water with the ICC and the higher-ups there after they read that article. There was no mention of this individual of how the township zoning code addresses some of the issues that were brought up. The gentleman thought it was really just a kind of a what-if question that he was asked. And he mentioned that the disagreement that's going on in public between the township and the fire department is big news in their circle. So he is going to respond back to us with some type of response. We just haven't received that yet. But I also had an opportunity to meet with Greg to review this incident and express my disappointment over the lack of professionalism that was exhibited here, my concern over the potential litigation of getting this out in the public as an official response, and really the need for him to focus on what he does best, because he is darn good at what he does, which is running a top-notch fire department. So I think our community suffers when we receive this type of attention, property values, people want to move here, the ICC, and I think our fire department starts to lose credibility that it does not deserve to lose. So here's what I suggest we do from here. And this has been discussed within our fire administration board, and Rick and I have discussed this at length. We're going to request, there's a spreadsheet that's been kept by the fire department that lists issues that have arisen because of the actions taken by the township board. We're going to ask for that immediately. Rick and I are going to take a look at that. We're going to review it from an impact analysis standpoint. What's going on, what's happening, what kind of problems does this cause, especially if it affects property value, life, or the safety of our responders and our fire people. And then Rick and I will review that on a monthly basis, put it in our report to the township board, and insist that corrective actions are taken immediately. Not at the end of the year once we have a big list, but immediately, so that everybody can be assured that any actions taken by this township will be addressed with respect to property values, life, safety of our officers, first responders, and our fire people. So I'll just leave it at that, and I guess my comment is we're going to take a look at it very closely and make sure that we're taking proactive steps to alleviate any concern there might be that the township would put anybody in jeopardy. Any comments?
Sounds good.
Okay, let's move on to item I, the Comcast expansion update.
I could talk a little bit on this, Chris. I don't have a lot of substance other than just a verbal report of our meeting that we had Friday. I sat in on a meeting with two individuals from Comcast, and I think they were hesitant to give official press release, but not because they're not going to do something. It was more or less because they can't say all of the details, and they know the demand for increased internet speed is so high right now in this part of the township where they are going, and they plan to have construction done by the end of the year. I hope to get an authorized press release still. I was hoping to get it before tonight from Comcast directly, but it is a first ever expansion of this type, of this quality. It is their premier product. It is going to be in an area of all Lake Town and extend down in the Saugatuck Township and into the Silver Lake area where that petition came from originally that started out with this board. And a group of residents came together in the peninsula there off of 62nd Street here about a year ago. And it's okay, it happens. And they came together and they gave you a petition. And we acted, we reached out to Frontier first, which started positive, but kind of fizzled out, as they say. But Comcast took a real look at our new maps, at the latest development, and they did a forecast, and then they did their survey, which we all know about. It was on the board, and that took several months. Well, the results have came in, and they are going to put this product in. It's the first ever expansion of this type for their heartland area, which is the part of the Midwest here that the state of Michigan falls in. And they hope to be done by the end of the year. It specifically asked, you know, this opens up, one, the direct use to the home. This is a fiber type of improvement to the home, but it also opens up the option for a group of homeowners or a subdivision adjacent to that improvement to then tap into it under an extension agreement. So you're not just getting the direct, you're getting the adjacent opportunity to then talk to them about extending a fiber direct to your home off of this main. If you think of it as a water main or something of that comparison, it's coming straight down from a lake town into 62nd Street, down into the Silver Lake area where there's all those homes. And then with hopes, our permits are going up, our development is going up, as you said, our tax base is growing, our population is growing. Since 2000, it's been going up, up, up. There's no reason to believe that they went for this for a very good reason. And that first step is the hardest, and they'll continue to expand. So by the end of the year, they were very confident that allowed me to say that I could say that to the public in full confidence. By the end of the year, they're going to have this premier product, parts of the southern part of Lake Town, all the way into the Silver Lake, on neighborhoods over where that petition started. So I think it's exciting, and I hope for the press release too, we can put it out or put it in the next agenda. I hope so. And on the Facebook page, perhaps.
Any questions from the board on that?
No.
Item J, meeting time discussion.
I've proposed this before, this is not new. We have a planning commission that meets at 7 o'clock. It just seems like 6 o'clock, I know I've been at this for 5 years now. 6 o'clock doesn't seem to work. People are coming home, they can't get something to eat. If they'd like to come to the meeting, they have to postpone dinner. At 7 o'clock, it seems like most people can get home, have something, relax, and then come to the meeting and not rush in here. And I never can understand why we want to hang in on 6 o'clock. It seems much more common when you talk to other townships, etc., that they start at 7, and it works just fine. Leave it at that, up to the board. Oh, I would add that if you'd like, we could do it for the summer and put it on a trial basis. It doesn't have to be locked in, chipped in stone. Could we have audience comment?
I think I want to have audience comment. When I first came on board in 2000, our meetings were held at 4 o'clock. We all said that's kind of hard for someone to get to a 4 o'clock meeting. So we moved it to 6, and it's been that way for quite a while.
In my experience, when you start at 7, you might not get home till 10 o'clock. Like Monday's meeting. So that's what I'm thinking.
It's very unusual for us to go beyond an hour and a half, 2 hours. So yeah, I know the planning commission sometimes went to 11 o'clock, midnight. That's not good. First lesson of running a meeting that I was told and taught at Michigan Township Association was don't go over 2 hours, because people's brains start to curdle and don't make good decisions. But that is a possibility. It could happen.
Any Any other questions or discussion? I guess we could entertain a motion if somebody wants to offer it.
I'll take a shot at it. I would make a motion that for through the summer months until September, we start holding our meetings at 7, and then take a look at public comment, interest or hate of it at that point. I do think it would improve attendance from the public.
Do I have a second?
Oh, I'll second.
We have a motion by McElwain, second by Babinski. Discussion. No further discussion. We'll go ahead and take a roll call vote on this one.
Yeah, you could.
So we'll start out with Rorig, no. Lane?
No.
McElwain?
Yes.
Babinski?
Yes.
Rudich?
It's tied right now.
Yes.
Oh.
Motion carried. So our meetings will now start at 7 p.m. for the summer.
Only
Make
took
sure
3
we
tries.
change the annual notice and at the hall.
Let's make sure it's noticed, and
Forget the website too.
good job, guys. I'm proud of you all. That's great.
And I would just like to thank our new supervisor for running an efficient meeting.
Yes. You know, I know what I paid per hour. Let's see now. We've got committee reports. Planning Commission.
Planning Commission, Monday, sand mining operation, and we didn't come to a conclusion. We tabled that till next meeting, which is going to be on the 4th instead of Memorial Day. And there's also going to be some marijuana discussions on the 4th.
June 4th.
June 4th, yes. 7 o'clock.
Thank you, Doug. Road Commission. Yeah.
You just appointed.
Other than
Yeah. I don't think there's anything. We've covered that. Interurban.
Bus cameras, they were installed, and I just saw on Facebook that tomorrow they'll be carrying the 1.75 million passenger. And then, May 15th, they start the, ride to Holland and back. I think they do it twice. I did have some brochures you can pick up in the front for that information. And then they are remodeling the kitchen that's 28 years old. So they have a $1,500 limit on that. That's it.
Fire Board. I think we just got to keep our focus in getting this budget approved next meeting if everybody's questions are answered. And Open Board.
Budget hearing date for May.
Now this could maybe, I was talking, so we have our budget obviously coming up, our budget hearing. I'd like to try to get it as far back in May so we can get as much information bills wise as we can in the registry and in the reports. Maybe now that we have a motion for the stay on the Fire Board agenda, you could put the fire budget in there too, if we're gonna slot another meeting for this month. But that's up to you guys to talk about.
We need time to advertise before that.
Oh yeah, you gotta have Appropriations Act. This would be the adopting of the upcoming.
It would have to be after the regular fire board meeting. Because if they haven't discussed it, there's no sense having the fire budget on
Yeah,
the
I
agenda.
would shoot for your budget hearing in May to be at the end of May, so we can get all the bills and stuff at least from that month in.
So the next, so that's going to be a special meeting, because May 30th would be the last
Yeah,
Wednesday
it'd
in
be
May.
a special meeting, and then you'd have the budget hearing in the special meeting, and the truth and taxation hearing. And then any other stuff you want, or need to do.
But I think 30th is probably a good idea. That's a
day is
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you want to
Unless
break
you
it
wanna
up
go
and
like-
just do the budget on that day too, that's, it's up to you guys.
Now, why don't we do it as part of the regular June 6th meeting? We don't do it separately now?
Well, you would still do your June 6th adoption.
Okay, this is just
This would be a
budget review.
special meeting, it's a hearing
Yeah.
yeah, you wouldn't do Appropriations Act
Okay.
notice and stuff, it's just a normal meeting to talk about our budget expenditures upcoming. And then you would adopt at our regular meeting in June.
Oh.
Special projects and things like that, if you got, ideas and things.
Questions, discussions, general?
Yeah. But no adoption, Chris, with that.
Gotcha.
Sorry about that.
Yep.
I was a little confused myself, sorry. So then it gives me a little time to put that stuff in the draft and then adopt possibly on the 6th. So I'll have a good, 2-3 days there to, if you want to do the streetlight project, per example, so big expenditure that I had that we talked about. It's about 8,000,
Well,
10,000.
as a supervisor, you can call it yourself
Yeah,
if you
that's
want. That's
We
special.
can talk about, tomorrow and just see.
Yeah, I would be inclined to call it on Wednesday the 30th. I guess at 7 p.m. since that's our new standard for summer meetings. So we'll put that out officially on.
Special meeting.
Yeah.
And then do the budget appropriations hearing on the 6th for when we do our regular hearing.
Yeah.
Or meeting.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. So if you got ideas and stuff for the upcoming year, then that's the time to really get into the details. It's kind of like a workshop, but it's a special meeting.
Any other open board reports? If not, let's move into public comments. Anybody?
Yeah, I just want to start my camera first.
Okay.
My name is Erin Wilkinson, 310 North Maple Street, Saugatuck City, Michigan. I'd like to just a few points of clarification about why I'm here and who I'm representing. I am an employee of the fire department. I work for them on a very part-time basis, shooting fires. Sometimes when there's a bad pileup, I go to that. Occasionally they ask me to shoot a board meeting. Those are the only things I am paid for, other than occasionally editing together video for the fire department to use for their social media. Why am I here? I'm here because when your board was asked if you would record your meetings, because it's at an inconvenient time that most people in the township cannot come, and it was offered that it would be paid for, you declined to do that. You decided, no, we don't want that public accountability. So I come here on my own time, and I shoot these meetings, and I publish them for your constituents because you don't care to have that transparency. I do that on my own time. Now, do you want to debate about the video that I use? As a fire department employee, I use my own camera. What that means legally is that I own every single image and every single bit of video that comes out of it. However, because there was an issue brought up by Roy when he was on the fire board, and he all but stopped just short of threatening the fire department, they're not allowed to participate in this whole recall. I'm not threatened by that. I know what my free speech right is, but I agreed to request, by a FOIA request, video that I personally own so that it would all be above board. And why do I do that? I do that because the 2 township representatives at the fire board meeting, when this recall started, basically told them, you're not allowed to go in uniform, you're not allowed to speak out of turn, be very careful what you say, and their jobs are on the line. And you know what? They care so much about what they do, they don't want to lose their job. They'd rather race into a burning building than lose their job, despite what all of you have put them through. So that's why I'm here, because I don't care if I get fired. If the fire board decides that my private personal activity, using my freedom of speech right, needs to be called into question and I need to be fired, they will make that decision. Now, the other points of clarification. It seems to me at the last meeting, Ross Such brought up the fact that Aaron Sheridan's anger management class, after he checked with his attorney, should be a matter of public record, and I believe you all agreed to check on that. I wondered, number 1, if you followed up on that. Number 2, in the minutes that you've just approved, where it says Lori Babinski has apologized to the board and Jane Verplank, I'd like to know, how did you do that? Did you do that written? Was that in person?
I didn't apologize to Jane, it was Leslie to Russ.
I thought it said in the minutes that you apologized to the fire department.
No, I think it was to Leslie.
Maybe I'm mistaken. But I would like to know on Ross's behalf, because I know he would like an answer whether or not you've spoken with your attorney, because he's under the impression that the 30-minute online class that was supposedly taken should be public information, if that is what was done.
It's a 30-minute online.
It was not a 30-minute online class, and There were several sessions Aaron had with a therapist, and we did speak with our attorney.
Aaron, who told you it was an online class?
I have heard that that is an accusation, and since you haven't provided that information, I just wanted to.
Okay, hold on.
Hear it from?
This is a time for public comment, Aaron. Thank you.
That's all I have to say. I just wanted to let you know that I'm here to help your constituents know what's going on because they can't come to the meetings. And I do it on my own time.
I can't resist
Go right
asking you
ahead.
to please spend your time at Saugatuck and Douglas doing the same thing, but I can't review their meetings.
You know what? I'm not afraid that they're going to put my firefighters in danger. I am afraid that all of you are going to put my firefighters in danger. Some of the decisions you've made about the fire code are frankly irresponsible and outrageous. And that you don't allow the fire department personnel who are experts in it to comment is appalling to me. That you would threaten their employment is appalling to me. End of 3 minutes, got it.
Thank
I
you,
just want to
Aaron.
put that on the record.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Patrick Stewart, 3212 Foxwoods Court. First, I want to thank you for addressing the question. And I got more answer than I asked for. That's good. The other thing is that, Greg is responsible solely for my home and 2 other homes directly in our neighborhood being safely covered by fire when we weren't before. And we didn't know that. And if it weren't for Greg and the way he approached it, if we had a fire, our house would have been to the ground. We still would have been. So I don't think there's a person in this community who knows anything about the fire department and Greg's work there that doesn't feel that he just does a great job of what he does. That really isn't an issue, I think, for anybody here. Tonight has been a really good example of how far this thing has gone. I've only been in this community 7 years. When I first moved in, there was an undercurrent of this kind of thing, and it's built. I heard tonight from the board a little of what else can I do, and I hope I heard that. I think that's good. I think the board has a responsibility, and all of the citizens of this township have the responsibility to put this thing to bed. And I don't mean just wait till the election. The election's a foregone conclusion, it's going to happen. But we need to put this thing to bed. It is really hurting this. And I'm not saying anything everybody doesn't know, but it just pains me that this has gone this far. I know you have complaints, and they're real complaints, and I would suggest that you ought to take the first step. Somebody here and you could take the first step and just sit down in private somewhere and have it out and talk.
We've tried.
Well,
That didn't work. We had a recall.
okay. What I'm asking you to do is open up your heart, not your mind, and sit down and talk to these people. And
I'm not the person who needs to.
Yes, you do.
I don't even live in the township.
So,
Okay,
anyway,
thank you for your comments, sir. Garrett?
To be clear, nor do I represent the fire department.
I'm not going to talk about the fire department. This time. Garrett Stirs, Lake Ridge Drive, Saugatuck Township. The only thing I got is about to update you people a little bit. I've been coming to these meetings a lot longer than any of you. We used to have 2 a month. one on Wednesday afternoon, and one a couple weeks later at 7 o'clock at night. And actually the one that was in the afternoon was attended better, maybe you don't like that, but was attended better than the one that was at 7 o'clock at night. Mainly more of the older people would come to the one in the afternoon. But like I said, when you guys came on board, that meeting went away. I went to one meeting a month. So, but that really don't matter. But since you were having a traffic study, what about throwing the intersection of Old Allegan and the Blue Star in it? I think that area is badly in need of a light.
Oh, for a stoplight.
We need like a petition for that?
That's a different kind of study.
Especially during the summer times. And it's not a clean intersection. Utility poles are in the way to really see one way. And people have to pull out kind of far out in the road to see what's coming, and then the guy making a left-hand turn is giving you the finger because you're out in the road too far. So, I think it ought to be looked at. That's it.
Thank you, Garrett.
Thanks, Gary.
Anybody else?
Good evening, Liam Marine, 6168 Riverside Road, Saugatuck Township. Recently moved here from Yellow Springs, Ohio, and I want to speak to non-motorized, the bike path. So, where I lived for 4 years of my life, there was a bike path that you could take 55 miles down to Cincinnati, 30 miles east of Dayton, 30 miles west to Dayton, 50 miles east of Columbus. The amount of tourism and economic vitalization that it brought to the town was immense. Now, I've worked at Wild Dog as a bartender, and probably about handful of times, the only person sitting at my bar has been someone who's only come to, Douglas or the local area because of the bike path, because there was this, this trail here. So I just want to say you guys are all doing a great job, and I fully support you all, and thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? There being none, I'll adjourn this meeting. Thanks for coming.
Vote next week.
That one doesn't have a battery in it, it's working.